but I would say you can do some really nice diving, like in Italy, for example, where year round, below the thermocline, it would never be less than 13 degrees C. So you can do some really, really nice diving in Italy. And in fact, I just got back from a trip a few weeks ago, a few months probably now, but to the northwest coast of Italy, so around Genoa region, so the Ligurian coast, and they've got some super nice diving there. Did you want to show a couple of pictures of that kind of diving?
Yeah, some pictures, I was going to say we want to talk about sort of Italy, because I know you go there. Well, I did my Tech 1 with you there. What was that, 5 years ago now?
Yeah, exactly. So that was a super nice trip there, and that's pretty much exactly that area. So if I go to,
so go down, try and share the screen.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
Okay, so through the powers of editing, that might even look slightly better than what it does there. But that's the Haven, or the Haven wreck, which is as far as I'm aware, the biggest diveable shipwreck in the world. And that's these two divers are about 45 meters, and you can see like the smokestack and masts and the accommodation tower of this super tanker, but that's a 400-meter long wreck, and pretty much you can do a recreational dive on the top of the tower. I think it comes up to about 20 meters. Yeah, there at the very top of the picture. The deck level's at 50 and the propellers at 80 something meters. So I mean, it's just crazy to think about that level of diving, and this is sunk about less than 10 minutes from the port. So it's a really great dive. I mean, fantastic visibility and loads to see, and something for everybody in reality. I think I've done like 4 or 5 dives there, and really only started to scratch the surface of what you can see on a dive like that. So
so any wreck penetration dive, or is it more around?
Yeah, no, there's really some wreck penetration. So actually, can you see the propeller in this picture?
Yes.
Or
Just about in the haze.
So it's a single propeller, and once you get near the bottom, it is kind of hazy. So up on the deck level, and I'll show another picture, you can really have like incredible visibility. Down near the bottom, it gets a bit more hazy. But this is, I think it's a 5 or 6 bladed prop. But you can see the blades of the prop are in the range of 1.5 to 2 meters for the blade of the prop. But consider this is pushing along 400 meters of super tanker. I mean, it's just a tiny, like unfeasibly small propeller for that kind of size of ship. So I guess like things have really changed in maritime design.
When did it sink, actually? How old is the wreck?
It's very recent. I don't remember. I mean, recent, we're talking about in the region of 10 or 15 years. It hasn't been very much at all. But, you know, compared to a World War II wreck, 70, 80 years, and then World War I, 100 years, it's relatively recent. So,
you know, was it purposely sunk? Sorry, or is it?
A fire broke out on board, and then they tried to bring it back to shore, but it was actually like towed back because it was a gas tanker, and they were worried about explosions, and they towed it. They towed it in, but then towed it back offshore again. I mean, offshore, it's a mile offshore, and that they towed it back because they were worried about like it exploding and hurting people in reality. So that's a crazy wreck. Let's see if we can. All right, we've done that one already. But you can see a little bit here of some of the visibility there on the tower. I mean, it's just incredible. And this dive would be about 35 meters there in the foreground, and up to 20 there on the top of the superstructure. And all that area is available for penetration. You know, I mean, it just, like I said, I've done a few dives there in the region of 5 or 6, but not, you know, going to start getting inside. But you could run out 100 meters of line inside this wreck easily. Yeah. I don't know if you can see over on the left of the shot. It's actually the wing of the bridge. And it would have sat out like this, but because it was on fire, it actually melted. It drooped down, which is kind of interesting. So loads of interesting thing to see on see the visibility. You can see the diver there, and there's some bridge on the deck level to get over the pipes, and you know, it just sort of blue water that we would think of from Asian diving, but that they're in the Med. So yeah, fantastic diving and accessible to almost everybody in terms of, like, there's a depth for everybody, and just a fantastic dive. And I think, like, this Genoa coastline is super interesting. Loads of really cool wrecks there.
So how did you? I mean, you there was a dive shop, or is it this a place you also dove off, Andrew, right, when you were in Italy, or was it a different place?
Yeah, but I didn't dive this wreck, but we were close by, right? Is this close by where we were?
I'd say the Haven is less than an hour drive from Finale de Guri, which is where we were staying when we went there. And then here's another, like, Ligurian wreck. Like, a lot of people complain about diving on subs, but this is the U455. Again, just off Genoa, and interestingly enough, it's like a rammed in 45 degrees to the bottom, which is just crazy. And up there at the top, I don't know if my cursor's showing there, but you can see. Yeah, you can see a line, and that's the line up to the buoy that the dive boat's tied to. And there's some sort of debate over why the sub is, like, at this angle. And one thought is that there's actually air. You know, the pressure compartment is still airtight, and the front is full of air. And we were joking, like, can you imagine if you accidentally kicked the valve, the air leaked from the system, and then, like, the sub went to the bottom, but the dive boat is actually attached to the sub. So as you're coming up, the dive boat would be coming down, which would be kind of a strange thing, I would say. But, you know, again, we talk about the visibility. The top of this sub is 87 meters, so right there at the top. Okay. And then the bottom of the sub is 117 meters. So, I mean, it's just a fantastic sort of vertical dive site. And like I said, a lot of people complain about diving on subs, but this was a really, really nice sub, and well worth going to see if you get the chance.
This is a World War II sub, I assume, right?
Yeah. And then there you can sort of see the sub rammed into the bottom, and the conning tower, or the fin. I don't remember if, you know, the maritime architects get angry if you call it a conning tower when it's a fin, and it depends what generation the sub is. But the bit that sticks out of the submarine, you can see sort of disappearing off into the murk, and 117 meters there to the bottom. So, like, super, like, pretty deep. And then
so this was sunk, I guess, in the Second World War, right? I assume.
Yep. Yeah. it broke into two small parts, and this
Okay,
is
so,
like
yeah.
the stern, the actual stern, although the propeller wasn't visible, but you know, rammed into the bottom. I mean, it's like super interesting dive, and again, like relatively easy in terms of conditions and things like that. So like really good visibility and benign in terms of current, but obviously the depth of the dive makes it
So you use
a little bit of a challenge.
CCR, I assume, for this dive?
CCR?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so this is we were on the boat with 7 or 8 Italians who were diving in let's say factory configurations, and my German friend Steph and I were diving on the GUE configuration.
Okay.
But I mean, you could probably have a heated podcast with any equipment configuration you liked. And it's not my intention to say one is better than the other. It's just what we were diving. So that's some like cool dives to look at for if you were to travel to Italy.